Ambassador Peter Collins looked out the viewport as the human ship approached the massive space station. Harmonious unity floated against the backdrop of stars like a giant metal flower. Its petals were docking bays, and its center housed the Galactic Council chambers. "We are being hailed, Ambassador," said Lisa Brown, the communications officer. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. "They are sending docking instructions and welcoming protocols." Peter nodded and straightened his uniform. "How many protocols this time?" Lisa's face fell as she scrolled through the data. 347 distinct greeting gestures, sir, each for a different council species. 347? Lieutenant Samantha Wright groaned from her station. As the team's cultural specialist, she would need to memorize them all. The briefing only mentioned 200. "They added more species last month," Lisa explained. "We received the updated file during transit." Captain William Garcia, the military attaché, laughed without humor. "At this rate, we'll need robot bodies to perform all their silly moves." The human diplomatic team consisted of 6 key members. Besides Peter, Lisa, Samantha, and William, there was Dr. Olivia Martinez, a xenobiologist, and Eric Martinez, an engineering specialist. This was humanity's first official delegation to the Galactic Council after first contact 3 years ago. "Remember," Peter said to his team, "Earth is counting on us. We need Council membership for access to their technology and trade routes." The ship docked with a gentle bump. As the airlock cycled, Samantha gave everyone a last-minute review of the most important protocols. "Never show your teeth to the Vrexians. Don't use contractions when addressing the Council. Keep at least 3 arm lengths from any Cuculian. And most important, never make direct eye contact with the Mavraxian delegate." Eric adjusted his translator pin. "Why not look at the Mavraxians?" "It's considered a death threat in their culture," Samantha explained. "How do we talk to someone without looking at them?" William asked. "Focus on their left shoulder," Samantha said. "And remember to bow 3 times before speaking, but only after you've been acknowledged by the speaking staff." Peter sighed. "Let's do our best. Earth needs this alliance." The airlock door slid open. Standing in the corridor was a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms and silver eyes. It wore elaborate robes covered in glowing symbols. "I am High Diplomat Zix Velen of the Eldarian species," the alien said. "I welcome you to Harmonious Unity, home of the Galactic Council." Peter stepped forward and attempted the Eldarian greeting gesture, carefully placing his right hand over his heart while bowing at precisely 30 degrees. Zixavelin's eyes narrowed. "Your angle is 40 degrees, Ambassador Collins. The proper greeting requires 30 degrees exactly. Please try again." Peter corrected his bow. The alien seemed satisfied. "Follow me to your quarters. The first council session begins in 6 hours. This will give you time to prepare." The human team was led through glittering corridors filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some floated in bubbles of liquid, others shuffled on dozens of legs, and some seemed to be made of living crystal. In their quarters, which were thankfully adjusted for human comfort, the team rushed to prepare. Samantha drilled everyone on protocols while Olivia adjusted their translator devices. "These rules make no sense," William complained, as he practiced the Jurix greeting, which involved hopping on 1 foot while whistling a specific tone. "Different species, different customs," Samantha reminded him, though she looked equally frustrated. 6 hours later, the humans entered the Grand Council chamber. It was an enormous circular room with hundreds of different seating arrangements for the diverse members. Some delegates sat in pools of bubbling liquid, others hovered in anti-gravity fields, and some stood on tall perches. At the center was the speaking circle, where delegates would stand when addressing the council. High Diplomat Zix Velon introduced the human delegation. Following protocol, the humans approached the center in single file, maintaining exactly 60 centimeters between each person. Peter began his carefully rehearsed greeting. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we come in peace from the planet Earth." "Point of order!" shrieked a delegate with feathers and a beak. "The human did not acknowledge the ancestor spirits before speaking." Before Peter could apologize, another delegate, A blob-like creature wobbled in agitation. And they entered with the wrong foot first. The right foot must cross the threshold first during the new moon cycle of the Galactic Standard Month. True. Tried again. My apologies, honored delegates. The human is using contractions in formal council proceedings, gasped a tall, stick-like alien. This is outrageous, Lisa quickly whispered. Don't say we're or I'm. Use we are and I am. The session quickly spiraled into chaos. William accidentally stood too close to the Kuquillian ambassador, violating their sacred personal space bubble. The Kuquillian released a cloud of spores in distress, causing 3 other species to begin sneezing uncontrollably. Then came the worst mistake. As Peter tried to address the council president, he accidentally made direct eye contact with the Emvraxian delegate. The entire Emvraxian delegation jumped up, pulling ceremonial but very real daggers from their robes. Death challenge, they screamed. The Earth creature threatens our honored representative. Security drones had to separate the humans from the enraged Mavraxians. The council president, a floating brain in a protective field, pulsed with angry red lights. This session is adjourned. The human delegation will return to their quarters until proper protocol can be established. Back in their quarters, the team was dejected. That was a disaster, Peter said, loosening his collar. Eric, who had been quiet during the entire fiasco, suddenly spoke up. I noticed something strange during the commotion. I scanned some of the council species with my engineering tools. What did you find? Olivia asked. Eric pulled out his datapad and showed them the results. According to these readings, all the council species show signs of genetic engineering. Specifically, their brains have been modified to accept rigid protocols, without question. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You mean, Peter said slowly, they've been altered to follow rules without asking why? Eric nodded. It seems that way. And we humans, with our unmodified brains, simply can't accept rules that make no sense. Lisa smiled slowly. So our inability to follow their ridiculous etiquette isn't a weakness. It's proof we're still thinking for ourselves, William finished. Peter looked at his team, a new determination in his eyes. Tomorrow we're going to try a different approach. The human diplomatic team gathered in their quarters aboard Harmonious Unity. After the disaster of their first council meeting, they needed a new plan. Ambassador Peter Collins paced the room, while the others sat around a small table. We look like fools, William said, running a hand through his short hair. 3 years of preparation and we still failed. Samantha Wright, the cultural specialist, spread her notes across the table. There are too many protocols to memorize. Even if we had a year, we could not learn them all perfectly. Dr. Olivia Martinez had been quiet since Eric shared his discovery about the genetic engineering. Now she stood up. I think Eric is right. Look at these brain scans I took during the meeting. She projected images into the air above the table. They showed colorful renderings of alien brains. See these patterns? Olivia pointed to certain areas glowing bright blue. These match what we would expect from artificial neural pathways. The council species have been changed to follow rules without asking why. But who changed them and why? Lisa asked. I have a theory, Olivia said. The oldest council species, like the Aldarians, show less modification. The newer members show more. I think the council has been slowly engineering its members to be obedient. Eric nodded. And they expected us to accept these rules too. But our brains are not wired to follow pointless commands. Peter stopped pacing. So the etiquette is not just tradition, it's control. Exactly, Olivia said. The strange postures, the complex greetings, the speaking order, they keep new species busy trying to follow rules instead of having a voice. Daniel Harper, the security chief who had been checking their quarters for bugs, suddenly held up his hand for silence. He pointed to a small device hidden behind a light panel, a surveillance device. Daniel took out his datapad and typed a message. They are listening, play along. The team nodded in understanding. Well, Peter said loudly, we must try harder, tomorrow. We will memorize all the protocols and show proper respect. Daniel smiled and typed another message. Let's give them something to hear. For the next hour, the team pretended to practice protocols while Daniel found and left active 7 listening devices. When he was done, he gave them a thumbs up. Peter gathered everyone close and whispered, "Tomorrow, we try something different. I think it's time humans showed the council who we really are." The next morning, the team prepared for the council session. Instead of practicing protocols, they worked on a new strategy. The minimal translator, Eric explained, holding up a small device. It will only translate actual speech, not all the extra protocol signals. And I've prepared a speech, Peter said. A real human speech. When they entered the council chamber, High Diplomat Zixvelen met them with obvious disapproval. "Ambassador Collins, I trust you have corrected yesterday's unfortunate behavior." Peter smiled. "We have prepared something special for today." The chamber was even more crowded than before. News of the humans' mistakes had spread, and many delegates had come to watch them fail again. When it was Earth's turn to speak, Peter walked to the center alone. He did not bow. He did not perform any of the required greeting gestures. Instead, he stood tall and looked directly at the council president. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Peter began. "Yesterday, we tried to follow your protocols, and failed. Today we will not try." Gasps echoed around the chamber. The council president's brain case flashed angry red and purple. "This is an outrage!" Zixvelen shouted. "You must follow proper etiquette," Peter continued calmly. "Humans have a saying, 'When in Rome, do as the Romans do.' It means we respect useful customs when visiting others. But your protocols are not customs. They are chains." Peter pulled a small cup from his pocket and poured coffee from a thermos. Drinking during proceedings was strictly forbidden. The chamber erupted in shouts. "Earth will follow protocols that serve real purposes," Peter said, taking a sip. "We will respect real cultural needs. But we will not bow and scrape just to prove our obedience." "Silence him," cried a feathered delegate. But Peter raised his voice. "My people have sent me to build bridges between worlds, not to surrender our dignity. We offer friendship based on mutual respect, not submission." Zixvelen stepped forward. "Ambassador Collins, you leave us no choice. The human delegation is formally censured. You will return to your quarters until you agree to proper behavior." As security drones moved toward Peter, something unexpected happened. A small green alien with large eyes stood up from a lower-tier seat. "I support the human position," the alien said in a musical voice. Zixvelen spun around. "Delegate Nixtral, return to your seat." But another delegate stood, this one a tall being made of crystals. "The protocols have grown too complex. The human speaks truth." The council chamber fell into chaos. Peter walked calmly back to his team as arguments broke out across the floor. Security escorted the humans back to their quarters. Despite being confined, the mood was victorious. "Did you see their faces?" William laughed. "We made our point," Peter said. "Now we wait." They did not wait long. 3 hours later, a soft knock came at their door. Daniel checked the security feed and looked surprised. "It's a Trixian," he said, "one of the lower-tier species." He opened the door. A small alien with iridescent scales stood nervously in the hallway. "I am Junior Diplomat Kree of the Trixian Collective," the alien whispered. "May I enter?" Once inside, Kree looked around fearfully before pulling out a small crystal. "This contains evidence," Kree said, handing it to Olivia. "The full compliance protocols, the rules used to keep new species like mine from gaining influence." "Why are you helping us?" Peter asked. Kree's scales shimmered with blue light. "Because in one day you humans have done what my people could not do in a century." You questioned. After Kree left, Olivia connected the crystal to their systems. "This is incredible," she said as data filled their screens. "It's all here. The history of how the Council evolved from a genuine diplomatic body into a control system." Lisa studied the communications data. "Look at this." Several species are already reaching out through back channels. They want to know more about the human way. Peter smiled as he looked at his team. Then let's show them. The human delegation was officially confined to their quarters. 2 large security drones floated outside their door. But this did not stop their work. Dr. Olivia Martinez had spent the night analyzing the crystal from the Trixian diplomat. The evidence is clear, she told the team as they gathered around her screen. The council started with simple rules 5,000 years ago, but the older species kept adding more protocols to make it harder for newer members to gain power. Captain William Garcia nodded. Classic gatekeeping. Make the entry requirements so tough that only the special few can succeed. But they did not count on humans, Peter said with a small smile. Daniel Harper, the security chief, had converted their bathroom into a secure communications center. He emerged with exciting news. We have made contact with 5 other species who admire our stance. They call themselves the Practical Coalition. They want to meet. How? Lisa asked. We cannot leave our quarters. Daniel held up a small device. The Zordians sent us this. It can create a small portal for about 10 minutes. Enough time for one person to slip out. I will go, Peter decided. That night, when the station's lights dimmed for the sleep cycle, Daniel activated the device. A shimmering hole appeared in the wall just big enough for a person to crawl through. Peter squeezed through and found himself in a maintenance tunnel. A tall, slender alien with 4 arms waited there. Ambassador Collins, the alien whispered. I am Zelvox of the Zordians. Follow me quickly. They moved through dark tunnels until they reached a hidden room. Representatives from 5 species waited inside. A Zordian, a Trixian, a crystal-bodied Colarian, a furry Nepthian, and a floating orb that was a Vox. We have watched your defiance with great interest, Zelvox said. For too long we have bent our backs to council protocols. The Trixian stepped forward. My people joined the council 300 years ago. We are still considered new members and have no real voice. The council promised trade and technology, said the Colarian in a voice like tinkling bells. But they keep the best advancements for the founding species. Peter listened to each species tell a similar story. The council used protocols to control who had power and who did not. We want to join you, the Vox said, its orb glowing with blue light. We will form what you humans might call a rebellion. Not a rebellion, Peter corrected. A reform movement. We do not want to destroy the council. Just change it, they spent hours planning. When Peter returned to the human quarters, he carried with him promises of alliance. Meanwhile, Lisa Brown had been working on her own project. I have created something useful, she told the team the next morning. She showed them a simple language guide on her tablet. This is a simplified diplomatic language, she explained. It removes all the unnecessary formal terms and keeps only what is needed for clear communication. The council will never accept it, Samantha warned. They do not need to, Lisa said. Our new allies already love it. The Trixians say it is 10 times easier than council formal speech. Eric Martinez had also been busy. He had hacked into the station's systems and gained access to the main communication channels. I can broadcast a message to all council members. At once, he said. But we will only get one chance before they shut it down. The next day, the full council held an emergency session to discuss the human problem. The humans were brought from their quarters under heavy guard. Peter stood in the center of the chamber, facing hundreds of alien delegates. The chamber buzzed with tension. Ambassador Collins, began High Diplomat Zix Velen with cold formality. This council has voted to censure Earth for gross violations of diplomatic protocol. You have 2 options. Submit to proper etiquette training or leave council space immediately. This was the moment they had planned for. Peter stepped forward and deliberately placed both hands in his pockets, a gesture strictly forbidden in council proceedings. Esteemed delegates, he began, ignoring the gasps. Today I will break 23 of your protocols in one speech. He took a drink from a water bottle. He made eye contact with multiple species. He used contractions freely. With each violation, the chamber grew louder with outrage. Your protocols are not about respect, Peter said above the noise. They are about control. We have proof. At that signal, Eric activated his hack. Every screen in the chamber switched to show documents from the data crystal, the secret compliance protocols that revealed the Council's system of subjugation. "Silence him!" shouted Zixvalon. But now other delegates were standing. The Zordian representative rose first. "We support the human position," declared Zelvox. "The Zordians will also adopt simplified diplomatic standards." One by one, their allies stood and declared their support. The Council President's braincase flashed with alarm. "This is unprecedented," the President boomed. "Security, remove these dissidents." But then something unexpected happened. 7 more species, not part of their original alliance, stood and declared their support for the human stance. "The Bloraxians find these protocols tiresome," announced a tentacled delegate. "The Vreen Collective sees wisdom in human directness," said another. As security drones moved toward Peter, Eric completed the final part of their plan. He broadcast Peter's speech and the secret documents to all member worlds. Throughout the EOAT station in ships docked at Harmonious Unity, on planets across the galaxy, beings were watching. "You may remove us from this chamber," Peter said calmly to the approaching drones. "But you cannot stop what we have started." Council security forces surrounded the human delegation. Guards from other species moved to stand with them. The Council chamber had become divided, those supporting the old ways and those ready for change. High Diplomat Zix Velen looked around in disbelief, as nearly a third of the chamber stood in defiance. "This is madness," he whispered. "No," Peter replied. "This is democracy." The head of Council security approached Peter. "Ambassador Collins, I must place you under arrest for violating Council security protocols." "On what charges?" Peter asked. "Inciting, rebellion, unauthorized broadcasting, and..." The security chief looked at his list, failing to bow at the correct angle. As the humans were led away, Peter looked back to see more delegates standing in support. The movement they had started was growing by the minute. In the holding cells, the human team was not worried. "How long do you think they will keep us here?" Samantha asked. "Not long," Peter said with confidence. "Our allies outside are already organizing. The galactic order is changing." Olivia smiled. "All because humans refuse to follow pointless rules." "Sometimes," William said. "Stubborn humanity is exactly what the universe needs." The human delegation spent only one night in the holding cells. They woke to the sound of their cell doors sliding open. Zelvox of the Zordians stood in the doorway with several other alien allies. "You are free," Zelvox announced. "Much has happened while you slept." The humans followed their allies through the corridors of Harmonious Unity. The station felt different. Security drones were absent, and beings of all species moved about freely, talking openly with one another. "Your broadcast reached every corner of Council space," Zelvox explained as they walked. 17 more species declared support for protocol reform during the night cycle. They entered the main Council chamber, now buzzing with activity. Instead of the strict seating arrangement by species rank, delegates mingled freely across the chamber. "The old Council leadership has lost control," said Kree, the Trixian diplomat who had given them the data crystal. "They tried to shut down communications, but too many station crew members sided with the reform movement." Peter looked around in amazement. "All this happened in one night?" "Your speech was the spark," Kree said. "But the kindling has been dry for centuries. Many species were tired of the old ways, but feared standing alone." A hush fell over the chamber as a new group entered. These were the Floxians, the oldest species in the Council. They rarely attended regular sessions, considering most matters beneath their notice. They moved like floating clouds of shimmering light. The lead Floxian, a larger cloud with golden sparks, approached Peter. "I am Senior Delegate Vroon of the Floxian Collective," it said in a voice like gentle wind. "We have observed your actions with great interest, humans." The chamber went completely silent. Even the most powerful council members showed deep respect for the ancient Floxians. The Floxian Collective founded this council 8,000 years ago. Vroon continued. Our intention was to create a place where species could cooperate despite differences. The protocols were meant to be simple guides, not chains of control. Vroon's cloud form expanded slightly. We withdrew from active governance long ago, a mistake we now recognize. We allowed the protocols to become a system of oppression. For this we bear responsibility. The Floxian turned to address the entire chamber. The human perspective has merit. The Floxian Collective supports protocol reform. Gasps echoed throughout the chamber. With the Floxian support, the reform movement could not be dismissed. High Diplomat Zix Velen pushed through the crowd, his blue skin now pale with stress. This is outrageous. These humans have been in our community for mere days and they presume to overturn traditions thousands of years old. Old is not always wise, Vroon replied calmly, and what is wise changes with time. Over the next hours, the chamber became the site of intense debate. Captain William Garcia organized a joint security team of humans and allied species to maintain order. Samantha Wright worked with diplomats from 15 species to draft new, simplified protocols that focused on real communication rather than ritualized submission. By station midnight, over 40% of council species had formally declared support for the reform movement. The old leadership could not ignore such numbers. The council president's brain case glowed a peaceful blue as it hovered at the center of the chamber. It appears a new era has begun, the president admitted. The will of the many must be respected. I propose a transition authority to guide us through this change. A transitional committee was formed with representatives from both old and new factions. Peter Collins was named as one of 5 co-chairs, along with Vroon of the Floxians, Zelvox of the Zordians, a moderate Aldarian named Pelzin, and the Vox representative. In the human delegation's quarters, now serving as their office, Lisa Brown looked up from her work on the new diplomatic language. I never expected our mission to turn out like this, she said. None of us did, Peter replied. We came seeking council membership. Instead, we are helping to rebuild the council itself. Dr. Olivia Martinez entered with fresh data on her tablet. The old council structure is officially dissolved as of today. 47 species have ratified the new charter. Eric Martinez looked up from his workstation. And the station is being renamed. Harmonious Unity will now be called Unity Through Diversity. A better name, Daniel said with a nod. Samantha placed a document on the table. The practical diplomacy charter is complete. 28 essential protocols instead of 3,000. Clear language, no hidden barriers. Peter picked it up and read through it, smiling. Simple, direct, functional, perfect. A week later, the new Galactic Alliance held its first formal session. The chamber had been redesigned with a circular platform where representatives could speak freely. Translation devices ensured all could understand each other without complex ritual phrases. Earth was recognized as a full member, with the same rights as species who had been part of the council for thousands of years. As the session ended, Peter found himself face-to-face with former High Diplomat Zix Velen, now serving as a regular Aldarian representative. I must admit, Ambassador Collins, Zix Velen said stiffly, that your human methods have proven effective. Change is never easy, Peter replied. Indeed. Zix Velen looked around the transformed chamber. I spent 3 centuries mastering every protocol. I took pride in knowing all the proper forms. And now? Now I find myself speaking plainly for the first time in my diplomatic career. A hint of a smile crossed the Aldarian's face. It is strangely liberating. Later, as the human team prepared reports to send back to Earth, William asked Peter, "What do you think will happen when more humans arrive? We are still strange to many species here." "We will adapt where needed," Peter said, "and they will adapt to us. That is what real diplomacy means." Samantha looked up from her work. And the best part? New diplomats will not need to memorize 347 greeting gestures. Everyone laughed. As he looked around at his team and the transformed galactic community they had helped create, Peter Collins felt a deep sense of pride. Humanity's stubbornness, Their refusal to follow pointless rules had not been a weakness after all. It had been exactly what the galaxy needed. 6 months had passed since the formation of the new Galactic Alliance. Earth had sent 3 more human delegations to Unity through Diversity Station. The original team, led by Peter Collins, remained as Earth's primary representatives. On this particular day, Peter sat in his office reviewing reports from home. Earth governments had embraced the Alliance, eager for the trade and technology it brought. Already, human ships were traveling to 12 different star systems. There was a gentle knock on his door. Eric looked up from his workstation. "That must be the Jaxian representative," he said. "They are always exactly on time." Peter smiled. "Some protocols are worth keeping." The door slid open to reveal a tall, slender alien with silver skin and large, dark eyes. This was Ambassador Leartaj of the Jaxians, a species that had joined the Alliance just last month. "Ambassador Collins," Leartaj said with a slight bow, a gesture kept from old protocols but now made optional. "Thank you for meeting with me." "Please come in," Peter replied, "and call me Peter." The Jaxian entered and took a seat, appearing slightly uncomfortable with the informality. New members often struggled to adjust to the simplified diplomatic style. "I bring news from the border regions," Leartaj said. 3 more independent systems wish to join the Alliance." This was good news. The reformed government was growing faster than anyone had predicted. "That is excellent," Peter said. "The membership committee will be pleased." Leartaj shifted nervously. "There is more. The Zelvar Empire has taken notice of our expansion. Their scout ships have been observed near Alliance space." This was less welcome news. The Zelvar were a powerful species that had rejected council membership long ago, preferring to build their own empire through conquest. "Are they making threats?" Peter asked. "Not yet," Leartaj replied, "but their presence is concerning. The old council avoided Zelvar space for centuries." Peter nodded thoughtfully. "I will inform the security committee. Thank you for bringing this to my attention." After Leartaj left, Peter called an emergency meeting of his team. They gathered in their common room, which now served as a strategy center. The Zelvar were mentioned in some of the old records, Olivia said, pulling up data on her tablet. They were invited to join the council 5,000 years ago but refused when told they would need to follow the protocols. "Smart of them," William commented. "They saw the control system for what it was. But instead, they built an empire, based on military might," Samantha added. "Not exactly an improvement." Lisa frowned at her screen. "According to these reports, the Zelvar have a strict hierarchy of their own. Leaders are chosen through combat trials. So they rejected one rigid system for another," Daniel observed. Peter stood and walked to the window looking out at the stars. "We need to learn more about them. The Alliance is still new, still finding its footing. We cannot risk a conflict." "What do you suggest?" William asked. "A diplomatic mission," Peter replied. "Not to their homeworld, that would be too provocative, but to a neutral location where we can meet their representatives." The team spent days preparing for this new challenge. Olivia and Samantha researched Zelvar customs. William consulted with Alliance security forces. Eric worked with Lisa to create translation systems that would understand the complex Zelvar language. A week later, a small Alliance ship departed for the edge of Zelvar space. Peter led the mission, along with Samantha, William, and representatives from 3 other Alliance species. They traveled to a trading post on an asteroid at the edge of neutral space. The station was crowded with beings from dozens of unaffiliated worlds, a perfect place for a discreet meeting. The Zelvar delegation arrived in a sleek black ship that looked more like a predator than a vessel. 3 tall, muscular aliens with scaled skin and sharp features emerged. They wore minimal armor that seemed more ceremonial than functional. "I am War Speaker Krav of the Zelvar Empire," the lead alien announced in a deep voice. "We accept this meeting out of curiosity, nothing more." Peter stepped forward. "I am Peter Collins of Earth, representing the Galactic Alliance. We appreciate your willingness to speak with us." The Zelvar looked down at the humans with obvious disdain. "Your alliance grows quickly. The Empire notices such things." "We seek only peaceful cooperation," Peter replied. Our borders are not a threat to yours. Krav made a sound that might have been a laugh. Peace is for the weak. The strong take what they want. Samantha whispered to Peter. Classic dominant society. They respect strength above all. Peter nodded, slightly, then addressed Krav again. The Alliance respects the Empire's strength. We do not wish to test it, but know that we are not the old Council. So we have heard, Krav replied. You humans changed much in a short time. This interests us. The Council was predictable, bound by their endless rules. What are you bound by, human? By principles, not rules, Peter said. By the belief that different species can work together without one controlling the others. The Zelvar delegation conversed among themselves in their own language. The translators caught only fragments, unusual approach and potential threat. Krav turned back to Peter. You speak of cooperation, but what of strength? The universe respects only power. Peter thought carefully before responding. There are many kinds of power. The Alliance has grown more in 6 months than the old Council did in a century. That, too, is strength. This seemed to give the Zelvar pause. Krav studied Peter with new interest. Perhaps, the war speaker said finally, we will watch your alliance. If you show true strength, maybe then we will speak of borders and trade. Until then, do not expand toward Empire space. It was not a friendly meeting, but neither was it a declaration of hostility. As the Zelvar returned to their ship, William let out a breath. That went better than expected, he said. They did not threaten immediate war. They are reassessing, Samantha observed. The Zelvar expected us to be either aggressive or submissive. Our approach confused them. Peter watched the Zelvar ship depart. We have bought time, at least. The Alliance needs that more than anything now. On the journey back to Unity Station, Peter recorded his report. The Zelvar would remain a challenge, but not an immediate crisis. The reformed galactic community had faced its first diplomatic test with a potential adversary. As their ship approached the station, Peter looked at the busy docking bays filled with vessels from dozens of worlds. 6 months ago, most species barely communicated with each other, trapped in the web of protocols and formalities. Now they worked together, traded freely, shared knowledge, all because humans had refused to bow at the correct angle. Sometimes, Peter thought with a smile, the strangest things change the course of history.